Welcome to my channel Valuable Coins, All World. If you've ever wondered if those old coins you have lying around could be worth a fortune, you're in the right place. In today's video, we're diving into some of the rarest US coins, revealing their jaw-dropping values that will leave you amazed. Stick with us till the end. You won't want to miss what these hidden treasures could be worth. Let's get started. Top 1. Have you ever wondered if there's a hidden treasure sitting right in your pocket change? Maybe something tucked away in your grandfather's drawer, or buried deep in that old coin jar in your attic. Well, today, we're diving into a story that might just make you want to look a little closer at those seemingly ordinary coins. Because what if I told you that one of the most common coins ever minted in the United States, one that millions of people have handled without a second thought, could be worth a small fortune? Let's talk about the Washington quarter dollar, specifically the 1965 edition. At first glance, this coin looks just like any other. Same design, same size, same weight. Or is it? The thing is, 1965 was no ordinary year for the United States Mint. It was a year of transition, of change, and of a major shift in how American coins were made. And within that shift, a very rare and incredibly valuable version of this quarter was born. Now, to understand why this coin can be so valuable, you have to know a little bit about what was happening in the mid-60s. Up until 1964, quarters were made of 90% silver. But due to rising silver prices and the growing cost of minting coins, the U.S. government made a huge decision to stop using silver in most of its coins. Starting in 1965, quarters were made with a copper-nickel-clad composition instead of silver. That change created a sharp line between old and new, silver versus clad. Here's where things get interesting. Most 1965 quarters are clad and essentially worthless beyond their face value. But a very, very small number of these quarters were mistakenly struck on silver planchets, the blank discs used to make silver coins. That means, even though the coin is dated 1965, it was struck using the leftover silver blanks from 1964. This wasn't supposed to happen, and only a handful of these silver 1965 quarters ever escaped the mint. These rare silver-struck 1965 quarters are what collectors dream of. They're like finding a four-leaf clover in a field of grass. Almost impossible, but not entirely out of the question. They look nearly identical to the regular ones, which is why most people who've owned one had no idea what they were holding. The only clues lie in the weight, the sound it makes when dropped, and a few tiny visual details that experts know how to spot. That let's paint a picture. You're going through some old coins, maybe cleaning out a desk drawer, when you find a worn 1965 quarter. You think nothing of it. But if that quarter feels slightly heavier than usual, has a cleaner ring when dropped, or lacks the telltale copper ring on the edge, you might just have something incredibly special. Because among those millions of 1965 quarters, only a very select few are struck in silver, and collectors are constantly on the hunt for them. Over the years, these rare errors have been quietly bought and sold in the numismatic world. They don't show up often, and when they do, the prices can be astonishing. Coin dealers, auction houses, and collectors alike understand the rarity and historical significance of these coins. This isn't just about metal value. It's about a mistake that turned into a miracle, a coin that shouldn't exist, but somehow does. Now, imagine being the person who walks into a coin shop with a handful of old change and walks out with a check that could change your life. That's not a fantasy. It's happened before. And here's the part you've been waiting for. One of these rare 1965 Washington quarter dollars, struck on a silver planchet and confirmed to be authentic, was sold for an unbelievable amount. The final sale price? $145,000. Yes, you heard that right. $145,000 for a single quarter. It's a reminder that sometimes, the most ordinary things in life can turn out to be extraordinary. So next time you're digging through your change, take a second look. That 25-cent piece might just be your hidden jackpot. And who knows, you could be holding a little piece of American history and a very big piece of hidden treasure. Top 2. Have you ever thought that the change sitting at the bottom of your pocket, in your car's cup holder, or tossed in a forgotten jar might actually hold a life-changing secret? What if one of the most ordinary coins in America, something as common as a quarter, turned out to be a hidden treasure? Today, we're diving deep into the fascinating world of the 1982 Washington quarter dollar, A coin that might look completely normal but could be worth an astonishing amount of money. And the best part? It's a coin that's still out there. At first glance, the 1982 quarter seems like just another everyday coin. Same George Washington portrait on the front. Same eagle perched on a bundle of arrows on the back. Nothing flashy. No color, no shimmer, no hologram. It's the kind of coin you'd get back and change after buying a coffee. But if you know what to look for, if you understand the story behind this particular year, then you know that some 1982 quarters are anything but ordinary. Let's take a step back and talk about what was happening with U.S. coinage in the early 1980s. The mint was going through some cost-cutting changes. Inflation had been hitting hard, and the government was looking to save money anywhere it could. That meant reducing minting expenses, especially for coins that didn't need to be perfect. As a result, 1982 marked one of the most unique years in American coin production. It was the year the U.S. Mint stopped producing uncirculated mint sets, and for collectors, that changed everything. In previous years, mint sets helped collectors and historians get pristine examples of each coin minted. But in 1982, those mint sets disappeared, which meant that high-quality examples of coins from that year became instantly more rare. And here's where the 1982 Washington quarter enters the spotlight. With fewer high-quality specimens available, every variation, flaw, and minting error suddenly mattered a whole lot more. Collectors began to notice something strange about some of the 1982 quarters, something subtle, something unusual, but something incredibly valuable among the coins minted that year. Some quarters from the Philadelphia Mint came out missing one key detail, the mint mark. That little P that's supposed to appear just to the right of Washington's ponytail? Gone. Completely missing. This wasn't a design change, it was a minting error. A rare mistake that caused a batch of these coins to be struck without their identifying letter. These are known as no mint mark error coins, and they've become some of the most sought-after and mysterious coins from the 1980s. But it doesn't stop there. Some 1982 quarters were also struck with other abnormalities, clipped planchets, double dies, off-center strikes, or unusual finishes caused by worn dies. Because of the rush and lack of precision in minting that year, these rare variations slipped through the cracks and made their way into circulation. These errors, combined with the absence of high-quality collector sets, have made the 1982 quarter one of the most intriguing coins of its decade. Now imagine this. You're sorting through an old jar of change, maybe doing some spring cleaning or helping your grandparents clean out their house. You pick up a quarter, glance at the date, 1982. You almost toss it aside, but something makes you look again. The coin looks a little cleaner than the others, the texture seems just a little off, or you realize there's no mint mark where there should be one. That's the moment everything changes. Because in your hand could be one of the rarest and most valuable modern U.S. coins still circulating today. Coin collectors and numismatic experts keep a sharp eye out for these 1982 quarters, especially those in near mint condition, because they are incredibly difficult to find. Most of them have been damaged or worn down from decades of use, making high-grade examples especially rare. And when rarity meets demand in the world of coins, the results can be astonishing. So, how much is one of these rare 1982 Washington quarters worth? Well, that depends on the condition, the error, and how well it's been preserved. But one verified and well-preserved specimen, free from its mint mark and graded at an exceptional level, was once sold to a private collector for a breathtaking total of $95,000. Yes, you heard that right. $95,000. For a coin that most people have never thought twice about. A simple, silver-colored quarter that someone once spent on a soda or dropped into a vending machine. It's proof that sometimes, the most valuable things in life are hiding in plain sight. So, the next time you find yourself handling your spare change, don't rush to toss it aside. Take a closer look. That tiny disc of metal might just be the key to an incredible discovery, one that could turn your ordinary day into an extraordinary story. Because history, mistakes, and a little bit of luck can turn a 25-cent piece into a jaw-dropping treasure. Top 3. There's something fascinating about the idea that a small, ordinary object, something you've walked past 1,000 times without a second glance, might actually be worth a fortune. We're talking about pocket change. More specifically, a coin so common-looking, so familiar, that most people wouldn't give it a second thought. But hidden within one of America's most circulated coins lies a secret that has stunned collectors and experts alike. Today, we're taking a deep dive into one of the most surprising stories in the world of numismatics, the mystery and value of the 1970 Washington quarter dollar. Now, if you've ever handled U.S. coins, you've definitely come across a Washington quarter. It's been in circulation since 1932, originally designed to commemorate the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. But over the decades, the Washington quarter has gone through several changes, not just in its artwork or lettering, but in its metal composition, minting process, and even hidden errors that became incredibly valuable collector's items. The year 1970 might seem unremarkable in the history of coinage, but it holds a fascinating secret. The United States Mint was still riding the wave of major changes it had implemented just a few years earlier, moving from silver to copper-nickel-clad coins to combat rising silver prices. Most 1970 quarters were part of the standard circulation, and millions were minted. So, how does something so mass-produced become valuable? Here's where the story gets unusual. A few 1970 Washington quarters were struck over older coins, specifically coins from other countries. Yes, you heard that right. A handful of these quarters were mistakenly struck over 1941 Canadian quarters. These were meant to be melted down and used for scrap metal, but a rare accident led to them being repurposed, and that mistake created one of the rarest and most valuable error coins ever discovered. Imagine this, a United States quarter, dated 1970, with ghost-like traces of another coin peeking through. Look closely, and beneath the surface, you might see fragments of lettering or images that don't belong to any American currency. That's because they were never supposed to be there in the first place. These overstruck error coins are a numismatist's dream, an anomaly created by chance, discovered only by those with a keen eye and deep knowledge. What makes these coins even more intriguing is how easily they could go unnoticed. From a distance, a 1970 quarter like this one might seem completely normal. But turn it in the light, examine its surface under magnification, and you'll see the ghostly remains of another world, a Canadian coin hiding just beneath the familiar face of George Washington. It's this strange marriage of two nations, two mints, and two eras that makes this coin so incredibly valuable. But it's not just the overstrike that adds to the value. It's the rarity, the condition, and the story behind the coin. Out of the millions of coins minted in 1970, only a tiny number of these errors were produced. And of those few, even fewer have been discovered in high-grade condition. Collectors go wild over these kinds of finds because they represent a moment in minting history that was never meant to happen. It's like finding a typo on a famous painting or a misprint on a historic document. Rare, unexpected, and incredibly valuable. Over the years, the legend of the 1970 error quarter has grown, and it has become one of the most sought-after coins by serious collectors. These coins don't just trade hands, they make headlines. They spark bidding wars at auctions, with people from all over the world willing to pay jaw-dropping prices for the chance to own a piece of this strange and fascinating story. So, what is one of these rare 1970 Washington quarter dollars actually worth? Well, one particularly well-preserved example, complete with visible remnants of the original 1941 Canadian coin beneath the surface, was sold at auction for a truly staggering amount. After intense competition and a flurry of offers from collectors eager to claim this one-of-a-kind treasure, the final price reached $115,000. Yes, $115,000. For a coin that you might have walked past on the sidewalk. That's the magic of numismatics, the world of rare coins where history, art, and human error collide to create something truly unforgettable. So next time you hold a coin in your hand, take a second look. That little piece of metal might just be worth more than you ever imagined. And who knows? You might already be holding your very own piece of buried treasure. Top 4. Sometimes, the most incredible treasures don't lie hidden in ancient ruins or locked away in bank vaults. Sometimes, they're right there in your pocket. We often overlook the coins we use every day, the ones we drop into parking meters, leave in tip jars, or forget about in old piggy banks. But what if one of those ordinary coins, something as familiar as a Washington quarter, turned out to be worth a small fortune? Today, we're uncovering the surprising story of the 1992 Washington quarter dollar, a coin that most people think is completely ordinary, but some versions of it are anything but to the casual eye. The 1992 quarter looks like every other quarter minted in the modern era. It features the timeless portrait of George Washington on the front and an eagle with outstretched wings perched on a bundle of arrows on the reverse. It's the same design we've all seen hundreds, maybe thousands of times. But like any great mystery, the secret isn't in what's obvious, it's in what's hidden just beneath the surface. By the early 90s, the US Mint had already transitioned fully to using copper-nickel-clad planchets for quarters. Silver coins had long since disappeared from everyday circulation. But something unusual happened in 1992, something that slipped past the eyes of even the most careful mint inspectors. And that something gave birth to one of the most valuable error coins of the late 20th century. Enter the 1992 Washington quarter with what's known as a proof reverse, a coin that was never supposed to exist in general circulation. Normally, proof coins are struck with a special high-quality die and sold directly to collectors. They're not made for everyday use. But in 1992, a rare mistake occurred. A small number of quarters intended for regular circulation were mistakenly struck using the proof reverse die. The result? A subtle difference that would make a huge impact in the world of numismatics. Now, what does that actually mean? Well, the proof reverse has sharper details, more defined edges, and certain styling elements that are noticeably different, especially around the lettering and spacing near the word America on the reverse side of the coin. This particular error is most famously associated with the Lincoln cent in the same year, but a similar anomaly was discovered in a handful of 1,992 quarters as well. They looked like regular quarters at a glance, but on closer inspection, they were something far more special. And it's not just the proof reverse that makes the 1992 quarter fascinating. This year also produced some other minting oddities that collectors prize: double dies, off-center strikes, and weakly struck details. Most people never look twice at a quarter from this year, but coin enthusiasts have learned that 1992 was full of surprises. The real challenge? Identifying these coins. They're out there. Not in museums, not locked away behind glass, but in circulation, in your change, in your coin jar. They're coins that somehow slipped through the cracks of minting history and made it into the hands of unsuspecting people. Many of these rare quarters have been spent without a second thought, passed around for decades, their value unknown. And yet, for the few that have been discovered, their true worth has been life-changing. Imagine this. You're going through your pocket change, maybe about to roll coins for the bank or fill a coin sorter at home. You pick up a 1992 quarter. It looks clean, maybe a little shinier than the others. You flip it over and notice something about the lettering, something about the detail that feels just slightly different. You do a quick search, maybe bring it to a coin shop, and before you know it, you're being told that you're holding something extremely rare. Coin collectors are constantly searching for these little pieces of minting history. Coins that tell a story not just of the year they were made, but of the human error, the timing, and the mystery behind their very existence. The 1992 Washington quarter, especially those struck with the wrong dies or unusual finishes, has quietly become one of the most intriguing and desirable finds for modern coin collectors. So, what would someone pay for one of these coins? What's the real value of a 1992 quarter that carries one of these rare minting errors and has been preserved in excellent condition? Well, one of these extraordinary coins, a 1992 Washington quarter with verified rare characteristics and pristine preservation, was sold for the astonishing amount of $77,000. Yes, you heard that right. $77,000. For a single quarter. A coin that could have easily slipped into a soda machine or been lost in a couch cushion. It's a powerful reminder that not everything valuable comes with flashing lights or obvious signs. Sometimes, the real treasure is the quiet one you least expect. So before you toss your change aside or spin that next quarter without thinking, take a second look. Because buried in your everyday coins could be a small piece of American history, and perhaps a key to a much larger fortune. Top 5. Sometimes, the smallest things in life carry the greatest surprises. Think about the coins we use every day. We drop them into vending machines, slip them into parking meters, hand them over without a second thought. But what if I told you that one of those coins, a simple quarter from 1995, could be hiding an incredible secret? One that could transform it from loose change into a rare collector's dream. Today, we're unlocking the mystery of the 1995 Washington quarter dollar, an ordinary coin with an extraordinary story. At a glance, there's nothing particularly flashy about the 1995 quarter. It features the same portrait of George Washington we've known for decades, facing left with a serious, dignified expression. The reverse side displays the classic eagle design with outstretched wings, gripping arrows in its talons. It's a design that hadn't changed much for years, and by the mid-90s, it was simply part of everyday American life. Millions of these coins were minted and released into circulation across the country. So how could such a common coin possibly become rare, or even valuable? Well, the magic lies in the details. And sometimes, the biggest stories are hidden in the tiniest imperfections. In 1995, the U.S. Mint was producing coins at high speed to meet the country's growing demand for change. But with high speed comes the risk of errors, and that's exactly what happened. A very small number of quarters from this year were struck with unusual and highly collectible mistakes. Some of these errors include double dies, where the coin's design is accidentally stamped more than once, resulting in overlapping or shadowed lettering. Others were struck off-center, clipped, or featured die cracks that left strange lines across the surface of the coin. Now, to most people, these flaws might look like simple damage. But in the world of numismatics, the study and collection of coins, these kinds of minting mistakes are pure gold. Collectors seek out coins with unusual features because they're rare, and rarity is what drives value. Among the most sought-after 1995 quarters is a version with a prominent doubling on the obverse, the front side of the coin. When you look closely, you can see extra outlines in the words "Liberty" or "In God We Trust." That doubling was caused by a misalignment during the minting process, and it didn't happen often. Very few coins with this kind of error were released into circulation, making them incredibly difficult to find. But when one does surface, it gets attention, fast. Then there's the condition factor. Even if a coin has a rare error, its value depends heavily on how well it's been preserved. Coins that have been circulating for years usually show signs of wear, scratches, discoloration, fading. But the rarest finds are those that have somehow remained in excellent condition for decades. Maybe they were tossed in a drawer and forgotten, or maybe they were part of a roll of quarters that was never opened. Whatever the reason, coins that survive in mint or near mint condition are exponentially more valuable. So what does this mean for you? It means that the 1995 quarter you might have lying around could be something far more special than you realize. If you've got an eye for detail, and if you know what to look for, doubling, striking errors, die cracks, off-center designs, you might just be staring at a hidden gem. There are stories of lucky collectors and even everyday people who've stumbled upon these rare coins completely by accident. One person found a valuable double-die quarter while going through a pile of coins left over from a vacation. Another picked one up at a flea market in a plastic sleeve, not realizing its true worth until years later. These are real stories, and they're happening because these coins are still out there. They're not locked away in museums. They're in old jars, rolled up in drawers, passed from hand to hand in everyday transactions. The 1995 Washington quarter may not be flashy. It may not be made of silver or gold. But because of these rare minting errors and its scarcity in high-grade condition, it has become one of the most exciting finds for modern collectors. It represents that perfect combination of historical significance, human error, and sheer luck. Here's the part you've been waiting for. One particularly rare and pristine 1995 Washington quarter, featuring a sharp, unmistakable double-die obverse, graded at a top-tier level, was sold in a private sale for a stunning total of $70,000. That's right, $70,000. For a single quarter, it's hard to believe, isn't it? A coin worth just 25 cents at face value, now valued at an amount that could buy a car, pay off debt, or even serve as a down payment on a home. But that's the beauty of coin collecting. It's a world where history meets mystery, where tiny flaws can lead to massive rewards, and where anyone, even you, could stumble upon a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. The next time you get change back at the store, or sort through an old collection of coins, take a moment to really look. That 1995 quarter in your hand might just be your ticket to an unexpected fortune.